Hello, my name is Mechid, and I'm a second-generation Hazara refugee from Afghanistan. Even though I was born in Denmark, I cannot look away, and you can't either, from the dire situation that is happening right now in Afghanistan. I'm part of the Bolaq Analysts Network, and we have written an appeal to the European Union along with the rest of the world about the dire situation that is happening to the Hazara ethnic group in Afghanistan right now. First of all, a brief background as to who we are and why we are concerned and alarmed about the Taliban onslaught that has recently happened in Afghanistan. The Hazaras are one of the main ethnic groups in Afghanistan, and we constitute about 35% of the population. Contrary to the majority of Afghans, we are Shias and considered by the Taliban as infidels. In Afghanistan, Hazaras have been the victims of historical oppression, systematic discrimination, violence, and genocidal campaigns. Despite the presence of international military forces in Afghanistan in the past 20 years, Hazaras continue to be victims of extremist violence by Islamic insurgents and systematic discrimination by the Afghan state. In the past 6 years, Hazaras have been regularly targeted and murdered in the capital city Kabul and across Afghanistan. We have been targeted in schools, hospitals, sports clubs, universities, mosques, and public gatherings. Our bloody history goes back to the 1890s, when more than 60% of our people were massacred in a genocidal fashion by a Pashtun Amir and his tribe. Our land was confiscated and given to the people from across the border. Our women and girls were sold to slavery, and the remaining individuals were dispersed in the region. The successive governments and regimes continued these discriminatory policies towards us, and we were marginalized and kept out of the system. More recently, during the Taliban onslaught in Mazar-e-Sharif in 1998, more than 10,000 Hazaras were massacred, and most of the cases, the people weren't allowed to bury the dead, and they were left on the street to rot or be eaten by the dogs. We suffered more killings and massacres in Hazarajat, the central part of the country. When the US and coalition forces went to Afghanistan, we welcomed them warmly because we considered them as our saviors. During the foreign presence, we thrived socially, educationally, economically, and politically relative to the past. Of the nearly $1 trillion spent in Afghanistan, we did not benefit, not even a mere $100 million. Instead, we relied on our own resources and we worked hard ourselves. Here is a brief list of what we achieved. We built the best private universities in Kabul and elsewhere. We built the best high schools, all co-educational. We taught our children, boys and girls alike, to reach the pinnacle of their lives. We had a few first females in a male-dominated society for the first time in its history. We had the first woman vice president, the first governor, the first mayor, and the first district governor, who fought to the end against the Taliban in the north until she was captured, and we fear for her safety. We built schools, hospitals, clinics, and even dams to make better use of water in rural areas. We were the first people to surrender our arms through an international scheme. After that, we did not engage in any militancy. Not one foreign soldier was killed by us, not a single one. We did not have any suicide bombers to destroy or kill things. We are builders, not destroyers. In short, we have the most liberal views towards women. They work, study, conduct businesses, and play a variety of sports. They are artists, musicians, singers, poets, and lecturers. Yearly, we had huge outdoor concerts in Bamyan in front of the great statues of Buddha that the Taliban destroyed in the late 1990s. All of these are sins in the eyes of the Taliban and their associates, as they detest education, especially amongst women. Hazaras are overwhelmingly pro-education and progressive. We are also detested for being Shias, and their brand of Islam is fundamentally against ours. We do not have any problem with moderate Islam, but theirs is a fundamentalist version akin to Saudi Arabia and ISIS. We don't feel safe, we don't trust the Taliban, and all the sins and crimes that we in the eyes of the Taliban commit and have committed make us a prime candidate for persecution. Do you remember the ISIS treatment of the Yazidis in Iraq and Syria? The Taliban are the mirror image of ISIS. We fear they will do the same to us. Currently, there is no place that is safe for Hazaras in Afghanistan, and given the recent capture of most of the country, we feel that the casualty of the Taliban's ascendance to power will be the Hazaras in general and the intellectual and elite in particular. Therefore, we request the EU to: first, please stop and rescind any policy towards repatriation of the Hazaras in the EU, because sending the refugees and asylum seekers back to Afghanistan of today would be akin to sending the sheep back to the slaughterhouse. Second, accept the intelligentsia of Hazaras in the EU countries. Hazaras are in general very vulnerable, but their educated and elite, especially among the women, are the prime targets. Third, please help our people generously, both economically and politically. We have no friends in the region. Iran, our co-religionists, is more in line with the Taliban than with us. If the Taliban consolidate their position in the country, there will be a bloodbath for all those that are not in line with them ethnically, ideologically, and politically. We do not fit in any category of them. The US Department of State, in its 2017 annual Human Rights Report, said that societal discrimination against Shia Hazaras continued along with class, race, and religious lines in the form of extortion of money through illegal taxation, forced recruitment and forced labor, physical abuse, and detention. This was under the so-called democratic and elected government. We cannot imagine the situation under the Taliban. Thank you for listening, and please share if possible to help.